Hello and welcome to the first of our Access Voice interviews. Today we have somebody on the other side of the screen. His name is James Shaw. He is the ambassador for Access Rating. So he's been giving us a lot of support since we've started. Now basically James is the Great Britain quad which is quadriplegic and men's wheelchair tennis champion for this year. So we'd like to obviously welcome James into the Access Voice as our first guest. Hi James, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Okay, so we're working the Access Voice on an interview format. So we're going to be doing lots of Q&As with various different guests. So James being our first, we'll crack on with the first questions. So James, tell us a bit about you and who you are.
Oh yeah, well, what he said. My name's James. I'm a wheelchair tennis player from Nottingham. I had a disability from birth, and it was cerebral palsy, which basically, if you don't know what it is, it affects the pathways from my brain to my muscles, which means I use a wheelchair to get around most days. And I also, like you said, I play in the quadriplegic part of wheelchair tennis, and that's because it also affects strength and coordination of my arms and hands. So, yeah.
Okay. And what was it like growing up with like that condition? Because I'm presuming you had it from birth with cerebral palsy. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It was an interesting one because it was like my disability was never bad enough to go into, say, like a special school, and all the special schools were closing when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then, so I was in a mainstream school, and I never really saw anyone else in a wheelchair. And if I did, that no one seemed to be like me, like leading a particularly, I mean, at that age, I'd say a normal life. So growing up with it, I was kind of always, I mean, I had some close friends, but I was shy and was always, well, I could always tell that I was different to everyone else. And growing up, I was just pretty worried that, you know, I wouldn't be able to do the normal things that everyone else would be able to do, like form relationships and get jobs and do all of those normal, you know, those things that everyone kind of wants to do. So, yeah.
Okay. And sort of with the issues that you were facing, both physically and mentally, how did that affect like your family? What were the main things that they maybe talk about now that they talk about that were from your childhood?
I mean, my family have always been really supportive. Like, I've been playing tennis from age 7, and because they always knew that I'd got a keen interest in sport. My parents are quite sporty, so I've always, you know, gone towards that. They were always researching stuff like access to places, and that I know they took a lot of time, say before we went on holiday and stuff like that, to really plan stuff out. So, I mean, I'm lucky that I had supportive family. I mean, some of the extended family, I would say that they maybe didn't understand exactly what my needs were, so they might have been overprotective and be less likely to invite me to things just because they were worried that I wouldn't be able to, you know, access it. So, yeah.
How did that affect like things like your friends and things like that? Did you have problems with like your friendships and things? Did you lose friends, gain friends? Was it difficult?
I think, I mean, the big revelation for me was, I mean, like, with friends was fine because, you know, when I was younger, it was going to each other's houses, or mainly just seeing each other at school.
Yeah.
But then, say, as I got older and it was like being invited to parties at people's houses and stuff, then there was loads of people. I realized that my friends were kind of worried about, would I be able to access it? Would I be able, there was like, if there's a step, would I be able to do that? And instead of actually asking me, they were too shy to really bring it up and would kind of just not invite me. And then as soon as I realized, I was like, hang on a minute, why am I not getting invited to things that's like my best mate? Have a conversation and realize what the issue was. But me growing up at that time, just seeing myself not getting invited to things was, you know, not a very nice feeling. But yeah.
And what were your experiences of kind of poor access when you've been growing up? So What are kind of the main standout instance that you've had? Because I think as a disabled person, we all kind of have them, those standout issues. Is there any experiences you've had in places where they particularly stand out?
I mean, I'm quite lucky because I use the day chair, but I can also stand and walk up a few stairs if I've got if there's a rail and whatnot.
Yeah,
So I'm quite flexible with access. But I think it's just stuff when I was a lot younger, it would be like things saying that they were accessible because they had a disabled toilet, but then it would be up a flight of stairs or something like that.
yeah,
And it would just be like, it's almost, initially it was just them trying to tick a box and actually not actually getting someone in a wheelchair to come in and, tell them what was right. Because as an able-bodied person, you wouldn't know what access, someone with a disability needs. I mean, I don't know every need that someone with a disability would have, because mine was a different than your or anyone else's.
yeah. So you'd say like a lot of it's about like education and things like that. It's like I suppose if you don't know, you can't really blame people, and that's the attitude I kind of take, because a lot of people can be very kind of perhaps harsh to people if they're not sort of abiding by the access, but really it's a real educational piece. And as we know, as disabled people, the education, yeah, it has improved, but there's still work to do with people to get them to understand sort of the difficulties and the barriers that we may face.
Yeah, and I also think that comes with people not being scared to ask questions, because that was
Yeah,
what I felt. It's like when I was saying with my friends, it was they were scared to ask a question, but if they'd asked me, then I would have suddenly just been like, well, I can walk that step or I can do whatever. So
yeah,
it's just opening that conversation and getting it started.
yeah. It's kind of I think it does help to be open about it. I think some people perhaps feel like or perhaps they're just not the type of person that likes to be open about it. And I think that's fine. But I think it's the job of the people that can be open about it to kind of almost stick up for those people and kind of say, we need to make these changes and this is why.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree. So when you are obviously playing your tennis, and I'm presuming you play all around the world, is that right? You go
Yeah,
all
that's right.
over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what sort of pre-planning do you have to do before your tournaments? I mean, have you got like a support? Have you got coaches and things obviously that go with you and support you, or what's the general gist of that?
Well, it was quite scary to start with, because all the players and the staff will go from different airports unless you're going out as a team, which only happens like at the Paralympics and at World Team Cup.
Yeah,
So, like my first few tournaments, I was kind of like, I wasn't sure how I'd manage an airport, how I'd get on a plane and stuff like that. Luckily, I had supportive teammates who initially would, come with me or
yeah,
at least give me advice. But it's it's the airport of trying to push your own chair, your sports chair, and your probably two bags.
yeah,
It's not the easiest, but I have found that if you're able to just speak up and just ask for help, there are plenty of people there, and there are actually things there like support, buzzers to get special assistance, and if you can call ahead, then there is assistance there. But
yeah.
I just think initially I wasn't aware of it, so I kind of just struggled along.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It can take a bit of work with these things, and I think the other thing is it's about being comfortable with communicating in that way, because I think a lot of it is communication, and a lot of it is on us. And it would be easier if it wasn't all on us, but at the moment it is. And I think the better you communicate things, the better you get the points across, the easier it can make your trip.
yeah. Because I find it very difficult to ask for help because I'm very independent and I always
Yeah,
have been. So
yeah,
if someone asks me for help, I automatically say no. But
yeah,
it's actually learning to be like, it's okay to ask for help, and
yeah.
there are people there, and
That's actually
we all need help.
that's quite a big message, actually. I think as anyone growing up with a disability, or even coming to terms with a disability, asking for help is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
something that we're not perhaps used to as humans, but asking for help is not wrong, and I think that's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I was going to move on to how are airports and planes, but I think really you've explained kind of the barriers behind that and the things you might have to ask for. So so on like sort of a whole, when you look at access, what do you think would actually help access?
Well, I think more information for, like, I mean, to be honest, like, I don't know all the information that like companies get, but I know by just having general conversations with them, they don't understand access necessarily of different people, and it's only something that I've learned by being around lots of disabled people, like on tour and stuff. Um, I just, yeah, it's being able to get more information and being able to open those lines of communication with people that are actually in that situation. And yeah, like you said, having the people that are able to speak up and discuss their access needs, I think, giving them a voice. And yeah.
And is that kind of the thing that attracted you to access rating in terms, because there are lots of things out there, there's lots of different things, but what was kind of the main thing that attracted you to access rating when we started to talk to you about it?
I just thought it was a great idea because it's something there isn't enough information out there. Like you'll see, say, like I said, my parents and I used to always research things before we used to go out, and I still have to do the same thing. And you'll Google it and you might see a little bit just saying accessible, but that really doesn't say anything about it. It might not have a disabled toilet. It might have a few stairs. Some of it might be accessible and some of it might not. So if you're going in a group, like I found, say, museums and stuff like that when I was a kid, if I was going with some friends and maybe only part of it was accessible, then if they all went off on the other bit, then it would leave me alone, and I didn't really want that. And but the information isn't there. So with access rating, that's going to make it so much simpler and streamlined, and you just go on the app, check it, and yeah.
And does it help, or does it reassure you that the way we've kind of decided to do things is through the ratings of disabled people? So actually coming from the point of view of someone that's actually got that access head on, do you think that's kind of perhaps a more helpful thing to be doing, as well as maybe the other guides, maybe alongside those as well?
Yeah, 100%, because like we're the people that are living with it and need to, it's for us really, isn't it? So
yeah,
having people like ourselves actually doing the reviews is ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just go back and just talk a bit more about kind of you. So let's just talk about tennis. So in terms of tennis, where did it all start, and sort of what things have you achieved in that time? What things have been happening?
I first started, like I said, at age 7, mainly because my dad was a marathon runner and I wanted to be like him. But so at that age was like asking if I could run, and he was like, well, sorry, you can't really do that because you're in a wheelchair. And then I was like, okay, went to my first football match and was like, oh, can I be a footballer? And again, there was not the same information about sports. So he was like, unfortunately not, you're in a wheelchair. So they knew that I had a keen interest in sport. So I went to this tryout day called Wheels 2000, and it was like I got to try out basketball, tennis, swimming, all kinds of things. And to be honest, I got into tennis because there was a local session like 10 minutes away, and just seeing a group of people that were all able to do the same sport on this, a level playing field, it just seemed like a great thing for me. And I kept playing it for a lot of years on and off. And then it was about age 18 where I got some information about the quad division, because I was entering events in the men's and not really getting anywhere because everyone was more able than me. And I heard about the quad division. I got classified into that division, and since then I've got help from the GB team and I've played for GB in the past 5 World Team Cups. I've won 6 or 7 international tournaments, won 5 nationals, I think, maybe 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's and it's my full-time job now. So it's gone way beyond what I thought it would have been. But I've got aims for like the Paralympics and Grand Slams and all that.
Wow, that is quite amazing. But I think probably from the age of 7, probably doing that, you've probably kind of. Do you think sports helped you? Do you think like sports helped you a lot in terms of perhaps coming to terms with your disability and perhaps how you've maybe helping with your confidence?
100%. I think it's the key thing that's made me mentally like strong like I am now, because I'd say up till 16 I used to go to my parents and just go, I wish I wasn't in a wheelchair, and they were like, well, we wish you didn't have to go through the issues that you're having because of it. And then but because I was worried about not being able to do everything that my friends were doing, and then as soon as I went to my first wheelchair tennis tournament and I saw the guys that I was competing with all having a laugh with each other, all friends with each other, they all had like wives, girlfriends, they had jobs, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, wow.
And I suppose as well, it's like we all, like a lot of the time with disabled sport, everyone's kind of looks upon Paralympics and kind of like winning the gold medal, but actually, like you say, about having fun and actually having a chat with people that are going through similar things. I think that's actually the big thing from it. Not everyone's going to win that gold medal. Not everyone's going to reach the Paralympics, because it takes a lot of hard work. You still have to be training very hard to get to these things, no matter what your ability. So I mean, I suppose like the important message from that is kind of like, make sure that you're not just you're doing it to kind of have fun and stuff like that as well, not just that big focus on winning everything kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like I obviously still have goals within tennis that I haven't achieved yet, but tennis doesn't owe me anything because it's given me such confidence in myself, and it has improved my social skills no end. Like I would used to be scared of just having a conversation with someone, and now I've got the opportunity I've done public speaking in front of hundreds of people, and that's because of tennis or sport in general, and giving me the confidence and to do it. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the plans for the future for you? What's your next big goal that you're looking for once we come out of obviously this isolation that we're in at the minute?
Yeah, I mean the big thing obviously was the Tokyo 2020 games.
Yeah.
So that's Tokyo 2021 games now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's happening with qualification quite yet. It's still up in the air, but the aim definitely is to go to a Paralympic Games, and then it will be, now that the quad division is in all 4 Grand Slams, and especially Wimbledon, that's the main aim for me, is to qualify for Wimbledon whenever that will be.
And when you say quad, just for any viewers that perhaps don't know what that means, what's that actually mean in terms of your perhaps qualifications and things? What does a quad mean?
Yeah, of course. So because there's basically 2 divisions in wheelchair tennis. So there's the paras and the quads. So the paras is if you've got just a disability affecting your legs, and then the quads is disability affecting 3 or more of your limbs.
Yeah.
So some people have to tape their hand to the racket. Some people have to have strapping for their like abs because they're paralyzed from the chest down and stuff like that. I have reduced strength and coordination in my upper body as well as my lower body. So yeah, that means a quad. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite. I always, when I actually first sort of started looking at wheelchair sport myself, that was the thing I was interested in, the different, quadriplegic, paraplegic, tetraplegic, all these different variations. And actually, living with a disability, the actual world of disability is just so broad. It's crazy. So like when you say about kind of people perhaps not knowing what to do with access and things, actually it's not an easy subject. It is actually quite a tough subject, really.
Yeah. I find the quad division fascinating because, I mean, obviously I play it, but it's because it's people who have had more severe disabilities found a way to get around it. So some people play these weird shots that no one else does. Like I remember, like Anders Hard, who I play doubles with from Sweden, he doesn't have any triceps, so the way he hits a serve and the way he hits a forehand is completely different to like myself.
Yeah.
So I think with me and my coaches and stuff having kind of free ideas of, you know, trying to work things out, I think that's the fun of it. Because like before, I used to always just think that my disability was how it is and it's never going to improve. But having people around me that have given me the idea that no, we can work a way around it. We may have to make some adaptations, but it's, yeah, there's a way around it, which I think is the same with like access. It's like you can find a way to do it just like anyone else. Did you just need a bit of thinking and a bit of help and information about it?
Yeah, that's right. So let's just, I'm going to wrap up with kind of a final question. So if you were able to speak to yourself, obviously you're 24 now, so if you were able to speak to yourself back when you were kind of just, when you were 7, perhaps going into tennis, and obviously you had some of those kind of, perhaps you were a bit shy and things like that, and you were probably a bit conscious of kind of your disability and things, which I think we all go through. What would you say to yourself? What would your message be? And what would it be for perhaps younger people that are kind of coming into this disabled world that we all live in?
I think the big thing that everyone is different, whether you've got a disability or not. So in before, I used to always be like, oh, I'm different to everyone else because I'm in a disability, but everyone is the same and everyone has their challenges. I think it's just a disability is probably more obvious for people to see, and just not really to think too much about it, because you'll find a way around it. Like every challenge that I've had, I've eventually found a way around it. It might have taken a bit more time than everyone else, but I've been able to do professional sport. I've been to university. I've got friends, close family, and all that. And I didn't think I'd be able to do any of those things. So it's just a learning curve for everyone. And yeah, I think, yeah, you can achieve what you want to, even if you don't think it's possible when you're a bit younger.
Yeah, I think the whole mindset thing is, once your mindset opens and actually starts to think in that way, just doors just start to open and things just start to happen. And it's kind of like something where you don't particularly need to, all you have to do is have that, work on that mindset, and then things just start to change, and they're not really in your control. It just happens. So I think that's kind of a really important thing to say to people, and probably a good place to end the interview that we've had with you today. But I'm just going to flick forward to another screen in a moment. But thank you, James, for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed the interview. We certainly have. And we look forward to obviously seeing more of your successes on the Access Rating page.
Yeah, thanks for this, and thanks for supporting me.
No problem at all. So that's it for today with the Access Rating Voice. We'll be having more guests on just as amazing as James, and we hope you'll tune in. So take care, and we will see you soon. Bye.